Be talking about Collei's weapon options, and mostly I'll be focusing on weapons that have been released up to the current version 2.8 only, so they are weapons that you already have. I may not have made that clear in my previous video that I posted right before this for Tighnari, but it's the same thing. In that video, I want to point out here, there are weapons coming. For example, in his video, I didn't talk too much about Hunter's Path, but I did mention it. I did not talk about the end of the line fishing bow for Sumeru, and I also didn't talk about the King Squire craftable Sumeru weapon either. And those information cards have already been released on Twitter by Hoyoverse. So let me just start with those now and address that out of the way. And this will apply for Tighnari and for Collei. I think those weapons will be also suitable. King Squire, which is the craftable bow. You basically will obtain the teachings of the forest effect when unleashing elemental skills and bursts, increasing elemental mastery by 60 for 12 seconds. This effect will be removed when switching characters, and when the teachings of the forest effect ends or is removed, it will deal 100% of attack as damage to one nearby opponent. The teachings of the forest effect can be triggered once every 20 seconds. It is a let's see here, an attack percentage substat. It'll be 55.1%, and base attack is 454, so it's going to be very in line with any of these other craftables that are already available. So that bow would work well for both Collei, which is featured in her demo teaser trailer, and also would also feature well or work well with Tighnari as well for the elemental mastery and reactionary bonus damage. So I think that, and I've mentioned before that in my case, I'm definitely going to use my billets and just exchange them for the King Squire for Collei. But I do want to be cognizant here and fair that I don't think that every player out there would have enough billets, and it's just in my case, I was lucky that I did have exactly 5. So I can get it to R5 pretty much on day 1-ish, if as long as I can exchange all the billets. I may or may not be able to level it up right away, but we'll see, right? So that's something to consider. That aside, though, we want to change the focus now to the other weapon. And that one is going to be called the end of the line. This is the fishing one. So it will be an energy recharge substat. Let me just bring one of those up so that it's like on the screen, just to show what energy recharge would look like. It would probably be more in line with the favonius one, I think. Is it? No, it's going to be, okay, it's going to be, but it's actually not the same stat, so it's going to be a little bit between. Yeah, okay. So there is, I don't think there's going to, oh, it's, no, it's different. Okay. Anyway, so I don't have the card information is on the Twitter, but I'll just read it out then. So it's 45.9% energy recharge, which is different than the 3 energy recharge bows I just showed you on the screen, and the base attack is 510. Okay, so the passive triggers the Flow Rider effect after using an elemental skill, dealing 80% attack as AoE damage upon hitting an opponent with an attack. Flow Rider will be removed after 15 seconds or after causing 3 instances of AoE damage. Only 1 instance of AoE damage can be caused every 2 seconds in this way, and Flow Rider can be triggered once every 12 seconds. So is this the same as the catch? No, it's not. It's very different, in fact. And so, and remember, fishing can take a while. So people will not have access to this right away either. And in order to get all the refinements, it's going to take a while, right? So keep that in mind. But it's going to be a good weapon because it's going to be universal, basically. The fishing weapons are very universal. It'll work well for Collei and for Tighnari as well. But I feel like there's going to be better options for them. But I definitely feel like for Collei, her best option is going to be actually the King Squire craftable weapon. But let's not talk about too much about that. But these will be applicable for both Tighnari and for Collei. Let's more focus on the existing weapons that are currently in the game. So because Collei is going to be likely a supportive type of character, as we see in her elemental skill, she throws at the boomerang, it only hits on going out once and hits on the way back when returning to her hand. Lastly, she'll have a similar alt to kind of like, in a way, kind of like Amber, basically, because she's basing it off of her. She throws at her puppet, her bunny, I think it's a cat in this case, and it jumps around and deals dendro damage, right, within an AoE. It's very similar to Amber's like skill, which is her Baron Bunny, plus her, her alt, and similar to Ganyu's alt in a way too, where it's like an AoE field effect. So I feel like basically with that being said, however, Collei can be probably played as a DPS or sub DPS or support character, but I feel like her main role is going to be a supportive kind of aspect, because I don't know that you're going to use her that much for actually like dealing damage, but you never know, right? So let's just keep an open mind, right? She's not fully released yet. Now, would you want to give her 5-star weapons? Sure, if you have extra ones, go for it. In my case, I have an extra Amos bow, but I'm saving that for Tighnari if I get him. If I don't get him, all right, and I'm okay with that. If I don't get him, then sure, maybe I'll give this to her. Although I don't think the passive really benefits her because I don't think she's really of a charge attacker. I feel like Ganyu on the screen is more similar to Tighnari's playstyle. So I'm not really sure right now, but let's just see. I don't think that I would give a 5-star weapon to Collei, to be very honest with you. So that's why I'm going to skip it over. Like in my previous other weapon options videos for other characters, usually when it's a 4-star character, and as we've seen with 4-star characters, they're usually not the greatest. I mean, with the exception of Hazo recently, right? So I don't really want to bother giving a 5-star weapon to her. Enough said there. That's just my opinion. Now, moving forward for 4-star options. Okay, so with the existing ones in the game, I feel like Collei is going to do the best with the Favonius style weapons with energy recharge or sacrificial or even fading twilight and or elemental mastery. So let's focus more on those. Now, I will say here, as you can see on the screen, I do have Molten's Moon. This is an Inazuma limited series weapon that comes throughout the gacha here and there. If you have this and it's extra and you want to beef up her Collei's burst damage, go for it. This is a burst focused weapon, which is great. Other weapons that you could consider, I would skip the Hamayumi and the Amos because I don't think that it's more suited for her playstyle. I wouldn't even use her for normal and charge attacks anyway, so I would skip those. Windbloom Ode, if you're an older player like myself, you might have a copy of this lying around that no one's using, and it's already R5 and level 90 probably, so in that case, give it to her. Yeah, Elemental Mastery is going to do really well with Dendro reactions, so give it to her. More recently though, we do have Fading Twilight. I previously talked about this. I gave it to Kujosara, as you can see on the screen, and I think it's great for Kujosara, but it's going to be great for Collei as well, because the passive works well, the substat works well. I think it's great overall, and if you have no other character to give it to, and you have it lying around, give it to her. Vera Doesn't Hunt, this is a battle pass weapon. I don't think that this is for her, because again, it is normal and charge attack focused, so I would skip this. Blackcliff, if you want to give her the damage and you want to give her the stat stick aspect of this, that's fine. If you feel like you're going to use her on the field to kill at least 3 or at least a couple enemies, let's just say up to 3, to maintain that stat passive stat, then great. If not, then I would skip this for her. Rust is a normal attacking weapon. It's only suitable, in my opinion, for Yormi and Child, which is who I used it for previously, and I wouldn't recommend it for Collei. Sacrificial Bow, I think it's fine, especially if you want to do 2 instances of her boomerang. I think the Sacrificial Bow is actually quite good for her, because at least then you can do 2 instances of her boomerang. I think that's fine, her skill. Stringless is also a really great option, and this is especially good. This is actually a better version of the Windbloom Ode, and I think that the Stringless is great because it's a straightforward boost. It's a boost for her elemental skill and her burst. I think this is great. And then last but not least, we have Favonius Warbow. This is a great placeholder weapon or a universal weapon for most players or most characters, and this is going to be the same for her. The only difference is that if you want the passive to be sustainable, you do need to make sure that you stack her with some crit rate on her artifacts so that she can crit more often and therefore generate more energy for your team. I do have these other options I want to bring up as well, even though I did say this was the last one, but these are more like niche options. So Compound Bone, not very many people would use this anymore, but if you do plan to use her for normal and charge attacks and you do not mind that it would be a physical damage, this could be an option. I can see this more for newer players that don't have access to obviously the other roster of weapons that you can see on my screen. Maybe because this is craftable and it is free to play friendly, but it's not going to be her best option. And then Alley Hunter, this is a Mondstadt limited series weapon through the gacha as well. This is actually okay for Collei if you do have this lying around, because obviously this is only suitable for players that are not going to be on the field. It actually says that in the passive. So I can see this working for Collei where you throw out her Baron, not her Baron Bunny, sorry, her alt maybe, but I'm not really sure if it stays on the field when you transfer her out. Like, I don't know if you, because we don't have her yet, I don't know if you can do her alt and then switch her out and then somehow get the bonus. I don't know. So this is very iffy. That's why I'm leaving them for like after the last, right? And not many people may have this weapon, and this weapon I originally got rid of. I had an extra copy or two, and I got rid of them for fodder experience, and then I got another one, and I just left it just so I can show it on the screen. But I don't use this weapon, and I don't recommend it. Some people do use this weapon for like, say, Fischl, where she leaves her Oz out, we can swap her out, and other characters that can leave, like Amber maybe, where you can throw her Baron Bunny, but that's really a short time frame only because it explodes. So it really depends. So it's not a great weapon. All right, so those are my thoughts for Collei. And just to summarize, I think that the best options for her are the 4-star options, focusing on either energy recharge substat or elemental mastery substat. And to be more free to play friendly, you probably have some extra. You will have at least one copy of Favonius Warbow just from the storyline kicking around. So there's that option. And if you have hold on the gachas and you've gotten other off-rate weapons here and there, you may have a sacrificial bow or a stringless lying around as well. The stringless will also be rated up on the weapon banner for 3.0 phase 1 as well, so keep that in mind. Those are great options. If you're an older player like me, you might have a Windbloom Ode, which is a cheaper version of stringless. You can give that to her. And if you also did the recent event with during Yelan's Chasm event, you would have gotten the Fading Twilight, and this is also a great bow for her. I don't recommend spending too much money on her or pulling for her constellations. We don't know what they are yet officially, but I don't think that we need to, because Collei will be given we will all be given one free copy of her during the first event for phase 1. So I don't think that it's a big deal to get her constellations, and I don't think that we're going to be really using her that long. I feel like she's basically equivalent to Amber. Amber is our story, like, character that brings us basically into Mondstadt, right? So in a way, Collei is going to fill the same role. She's going to bring us into Sumeru, more or less, I guess, right? And then, like, then you're gonna kind of put her to the side afterward because you're probably not gonna really use her. So hence, I recommend highly just to give her what you have already. I wouldn't recommend like hitting her out or like going crazy over her, because you're gonna probably replace her from your roster. So those are my thoughts. But anyway, yeah, I just want to point that out in the beginning that I didn't talk about the newer weapons, End of the Line and King Squire for tighnari's video, which I posted right before this. So I want to bring that up in the beginning. But this video and that video were meant to be only talking about weapons that already exist in the game up to 2.8. If I wasn't making that clear in the other video, I want to make that clear here too. Alright, so hopefully you enjoyed that and found it useful. I did talk about the upcoming Zhongli and Tighnari banner and also the weapon banner for them as well. So check that out. And also, of course, the Tighnari weapon options video as well. And in the next video, I will be talking about the 3.1 characters that are coming soon. So stay tuned. And for more from me, also check out my 3.1 character predictions, rerun predictions. And also I discussed some 3.1 standard banner changes as well. Of course, that video is a little bit changed now that there's more confirmed information, but it's more about the Hunter's Path being not available on the standard banner. But regardless, those are my thoughts at the time. So anyway, I hope you guys stay tuned for more, and I'll see you there.